It's an exciting time to be a football fan. Plenty of fantasy action coming this week, and the NFL season is just a few weeks away. So, very exciting time to be an NFL fan. So, today, this is where I place my stake in the ground. NFL award predictions. Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, we're going to kick it off here with a hot take. I'm going to be going with three for every single award. So you see some honorable mentions or some runner ups here if you want to say that instead. But the MVP at number three, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. This all depends on your belief on the New York Jets this season. Do I think the New York Jets and other New York media teams get way too much attention and way too much hype every single year? Absolutely. But if I take that out of the equation and I just look at the team and the potential storylines, because that does play a part, I think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets have it all to make a run this year outside of the head coach. I'm a little bit worried about Robert Saleh, but I think this is a team that's going to have an easier schedule than Miami and an easier schedule than Buffalo. They might find a way, second half of the year, to get hot, to win this division. And if they can be a the number two or the number three seed in the AFC with Rodgers coming off of this injury, I think this is a guy that might make history and might get that fifth MVP, being the most in NFL history. The storyline is there, the narrative is there, the football team is good enough. They just need Aaron Rodgers to come back and to be 70% of what his prime was. Now, 70% of what Aaron Rodgers' prime was is still going to be a season where he gives you 30 to 35 touchdowns, under 10 interceptions, 4,000 passing yards, and hopefully this team can win 11, 12, who knows? I don't want to get too crazy. If everything goes right, maybe 13 games. The defense is there. The offense has only gotten better with the improved offensive line and weapons on the outside. I'm excited for the Jets this season, but they do get a lot of media attention. And number two, Josh Allen. Sometimes the less is more theory is true. This Bills team, as of current day construction, reminds me so much of the 2015 Carolina Panthers. You have this, phenom of a quarterback, a super, Cam Newton's what, 6'6, 250. He could run, he could throw. He was a great team leader. He was Superman for the Carolina Panthers. Josh Allen is exactly that for the Buffalo Bills. Now, Cam Newton and Josh Allen are Superman because on the offensive side of the ball around them, there's not much. For Cam Newton, he had Greg Olsen and a good committee of running backs. Outside of that, his best receivers were Ted Ginn, Devin Funchess, a little throwback name there for you guys. But for Josh Allen, this is a guy that has what? Dalton Kincaid, who's really unproven. At least he's more unproven than Greg Olsen was. Right? He's only going into the best play of his career. And James Cook. Outside of those two guys, if one of them go down, there's not much else. You have a Curtis Samuel who can't stay healthy. He's never proven to be a top two wide receiver, more so than a flex guy, right? A third or fourth string wide receiver. You have a rookie Keon Coleman who has all the intangibles and all the things on paper to be great, but he's still unproven at the NFL level. Khalil Shakir, a lot of the same can be said about him. So sometimes the less is more theory. I think Josh Allen's going to have to come into this year, just like Cam Newton did in 2015, and be Superman for the Buffalo Bills. And that includes leading them to the playoffs, maybe winning the division, and putting up absolutely insane stats. So for fantasy football, he's going to be great. For the real NFL, I just hope that this team can win enough games. So again, sometimes less is more for some of these MVP performers or hopefuls, I will say. And number one, I don't feel great about it. I'm not one of those that hate Patrick Mahomes, right? I appreciate the greatness that we get to see on a yearly basis because I believe maybe from a personal and an individual aspect, the best is yet to come from Patrick Mahomes. But it's been way too long. I think he only has one MVP under his belt, and that was, of course, in 2020, I believe, if not the year after. We've had a couple years now where Pat Mahomes has gotten the recognition, but he hasn't had the hardware to go with it outside of the Super Bowl. So the MVP, I think, can return to Patrick Mahomes this year. Give him his second. This is a Chiefs team that I project out to win 12 to 14 games this year to get the number one seed, and they're on track to make history. They're trying to do something that no team has ever done, and that is to win 3 straight Super Bowls. So the narrative is there. The media is going to be there hyping them up behind them. Of course, you have all the Taylor Swift fans as well, but you're going to have the media, the narrative, the team success is going to be there, and the individual play. Pat Mahomes is going to be amazing this year with an improved wide receiver core, improved offensive line, and a team that is hungry to make some history. So Pat Mahomes is my winner this year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Offensive Player of the Year. Let's get into some honorable mentions. And these are guys that are just so great that, unless injury plays a part in their season, they're going to put up great numbers and they're going to be great and huge players for their team. Tyreek Hill, of course, he's trying to become the first receiver to ever put up 2,000 yards. We'll talk about that in a moment. I think, he can do it. Of course, if he stayed healthy last year, he would have done it. Tyreek Hill, same situation as last year, should dominate, if not more. It's Christian McCaffrey, same situation. Same situation as last year. The team is going, they're on their route to the Super Bowl. They're trying to finally get over the hump with this so talented and such an amazing core of players. They just need to be healthy, and they need to not run into Patrick Mahomes. If they can do those two things, I think they can raise the Lombardi this season. But out of these two guys, of course, 2 great honorable mentions. But my winner, I'm going to go out there, right? Patrick Mahomes, I think, is the Vegas pick right now. Ja'Marr Chase is not. He's not in the top 5. So I said, why not? I'm going to show some love to maybe one of my favorite players in the league, Ja'Marr Chase, right? This is a guy that I think has a better chance, has as good of a chance as any to break that 2,000-yard mark this season if there was one to do it. Excuse me. But Ja'Marr Chase is the number one in his offense. He has his quarterback back. When Joe Burrow is playing, Ja'Marr Chase is a completely different receiver. He puts up completely different numbers than he's playing with any other quarterback. I think Ja'Marr Chase, is a guy that is going to be the focal point like he's always been in this offense. This is a Bengals team that lost some defensive pieces. They lost some other pieces on this team like Joe Mixon. There's more touches to go around in this offense, and why not? Let's go give it to a top 5 level wide receiver in the NFL in Ja'Marr Chase. Just put the ball in his hands, and hopefully Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase can carry this team to the postseason yet again. But I think if there's any chance this team is going to win the division, it has to be because Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow have MVP and Offensive Player of the Year level seasons. So I'm going to go out there a little bit. I don't want to go Christian McCaffrey and Pat Mahomes and go all the Vegas odds. I'm going to go throw out a flyer there in Ja'Marr Chase. Defensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt, man. As a Browns fan, I don't understand why this guy gets disrespected by both players around the NFL, but also the media. This is a guy that when we play them I'm a Browns fan, right? When we play them, I fear TJ Watt. There's not a lot of players I fear to play in the NFL, right, when the Browns are going on a weekly basis. And even though the Steelers didn't have a quarterback the last couple of years, I'm going to those games like, man, if TJ Watt gets going, we don't have a shot, right? TJ Watt, when he's on the field, it just feels like he's always impacting the play somehow, some way. And this is coming from a Myles Garrett, right, truther, right? I will back Myles Garrett until he retires. But I think TJ Watt's probably better than Myles Garrett. If not, again, it's a 1A, 1B kind of a conversation. TJ Watt just gets highly disrespected across the league by players, by media. I just don't understand why. There's not many players that have his level of impact on the game, and I think it goes under the radar. But if this Steelers team can make the playoffs, it's because this defense is showing out on a weekly basis. So TJ Watt will be in that conversation if they can make the postseason. Sauce Gardner, I'm going to throw one out there. The fans want to see it. Why not, right? He'll have the media behind him. Cool name, right? Plays for the New York media, right? And for the New York Jets. And this is a team that I project to win 12 games this season. So if they can win 12 to 13 games this season, they're gonna, this defense is gonna be, a top 5 level defense. And the best player on this top 5 level defense is either Quinnen Williams, but I don't know if he'll have the analytics behind him, and Sauce Gardner. I think Sauce Gardner, being a cornerback, being flashy, right? He checks all the boxes to be an award winner. And so again, if this team can win 12 to 13 games, Sauce Gardner, just like TJ Watt, should be in the running. But I'm gonna go out on the out on a limb. I could go with the odds-on favorite. I can go Nick Bosa. I can go Myles Garrett. But I'm sure that's not why you came here. You don't want to, come to a video just for me to read off the Vegas favorites. I'm gonna go with Aiden Hutchinson. Why not, right? This is a Detroit Lions team that I think will be the number one seed in the NFC. If that's the case, Aiden Hutchinson, I think, goes from 11 and a half sacks to, let's say, 16 and a half to 18 and a half sacks. If he can take a jump like that, if he can, take a huge jump in the sack department, and this team is winning 13 games, number one in the NFC, they need some kind of award recognition. And I think Aiden Hutchinson, he was drafted to be a franchise cornerstone on the defensive side of the ball. He could be that guy for the Lions this year. He's a long shot. I understand that. But for the expectations that I'm setting out for the Lions this year, I think Aiden Hutchinson, if he can take that leap, should get the recognition on the defensive side of the ball for the Lions. So Aiden Hutchinson, just like Ja'Marr Chase, going out on a limb, not a favorite, but I think he has a chance to do it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's Caleb Williams. This guy can do no wrong in the eyes of the media. Now, as much as I would like to see guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. winning, right? Because, of course, he is projected to be an all-time great wide receiver. Jayden Daniels is just the fun pick. Jayden Daniels is the guy that after the couple preseason games we saw, he was like, man, I really was thinking about he could take this award away from Caleb Williams. But this Bears team has a better chance to both have the season success, right, as far as the win-loss department, but also has a better chance. Caleb, I think, has the best chance at having team and individual success at a high level. That is what I'm getting at here. Over guys like Jayden Daniels, over guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. The team success might hurt those guys. But Caleb Williams, the media is behind him, the narrative is behind him, and I think, again, he can check those boxes as far as the success department. So Caleb Williams can't do any wrong, even if he has a subpar season. The media, if they have a reason to give it to him, they're going to give it to Caleb Williams. Again, he's supposed to be the next Tom Brady. The Defensive Rookie of the Year. This is, if you followed the channel for any extended amount of time, you would have heard this name at some point in time. Because I go out of my name to mention Laiatu Latu. When I was doing my draft process and different mock drafts here on the channel, different fun, anytime I was looking at the collegiate level, this is the guy that from day number one, really mid-season last year of the college season, I said Laiatu Latu is going to be a monster. This dude's going to be a top 5, top 10 level pass rusher for his entire NFL career. That is how much I believe in Laiatu Latu. I was raving about him all off season. I said he should be the first defensive player off the board. Now, I didn't think that was going to be at 15 to the Colts. I thought he was going to be a top 10 pick to the Falcons. But the most polished pass rusher. He's the most NFL-ready pass rusher. Does he have the ceiling of maybe a Jared Verse or a Dallas Turner? Maybe not as high of a ceiling, but I think it's pretty damn close. I think Laiatu Latu is going to be a monster. I think this year is going to run away with this Defensive Player of the Year award or Defensive Rookie of the Year, let me clarify, because the Colts are going to be a playoff level team. And if the Colts make it to the playoffs, with this fun team, Laiatu Latu is going to be a big reason on the defensive side of the ball because the Colts don't have necessarily a great secondary, right? Or a great linebacker group. They have Zaire Franklin, who's an amazing defensive player. They have DeForest Buckner up front, still an amazing defensive player. But outside of those two guys, it's really a subpar defense. I think Laiatu Latu can be that spark that they need to really turn into an above average group. And of course, I'm going to give the nod to him this season. But again, Jared Verse, I think, would be number 2 on this list. If not, of course, you can get fun and throw a couple names out there. But I'm going to stick to what my ambition or my gut has said all really for the last year and a half. Laiatu Latu is going to be crazy, and he's going to start his career off on the right note, getting these honors. Comeback Player of the Year, we'll go past this one very quickly, but Aaron Rodgers, right? Because this is the guy that He's going to be top 3 in MVP in this projection. So if he can do that, he's at least going to come away with a Comeback Player of the Year award, coming off that knee injury after playing only 3 to 4 snaps with the Jets last season. Very disappointing season last year, but this year this team seems hungry. They seem ready to prove everybody wrong and say, hey, we're not getting the recognition we deserve. So for all the reasons I pointed out at the beginning of the show, Aaron Rodgers will take home this award. But some other guys, maybe Deshaun Watson, right? He can probably get this award. I'm sure there's a lot of players I'm forgetting that are in the running for the Comeback Player of the Year award, but cut me some slack, at least in that department. Coach of the Year, Shane Steichen, I think is going to have an amazing argument to win this award. I think Matt Eberflus, if he can get the Bears to the playoffs, is going to have an argument for this award. Matt LaFleur, if the Packers are everything the media is expecting, of course, you always have your Kyle Shanahans, your Andy Reids, but I'm going to give this award to the guy that I'm not going to say he should have won it last year, but he was definitely a great candidate. He had a great case, and as a Browns fan, if they gave the award to Dan Campbell over Stefanski, I wouldn't have batted an eye. Now, Stefanski had more to battle with last year, but Dan Campbell, the way that he has transformed this program and this team in such a short span of time is remarkable. And I think it deserves its flowers at some point in time. And Dan Campbell, for him to rejolt this franchise that really had no hope for a long stretch of time, to get them to the playoffs for the first time in a while. And not only get them to the playoffs, but get their first playoff win since the early 90s is amazing. And then he goes and takes them to the NFC Championship game. This is a guy in Dan Campbell that this year, I believe this team, I keep saying this as well. In the NFC title game last year, they were up like 24-7 at halftime. If that team just kicked some field goals in the second half and didn't go for every single fourth down, they probably would have been in the Super Bowl. And then who knows what would have happened. But this year, they have a chip on their shoulder. I think they win the NFC. I think they're the number 1 seed, and everybody loves Dan Campbell. So with all those factors checking out, he is going to take home my Coach of the Year award. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm excited to see what you guys think for some of these awards. Sure, I could have looked at the Vegas betting odds and just gave you the favorites for each and every one. I could have said Jared Verse. I could have said CMC for Opoy and TJ Watt or Myles Garrett for Depoy, but that's boring. I want to go out on a limb. I want to go out there and make this as fun as possible. But with that being said, you see the recap on the left side of your screen. MVP, Pat Mahomes, he needs his second. Ja'Marr Chase, this offense, if they want to make the playoffs, they're going to have to score a lot of points. Ja'Marr Chase is going to play a big part in that. Aiden Hutchinson, probably the biggest limb I went out on, but this is a team I project to be dominant, and I think if he could take a jump to 16 to 18 sacks, which is, again, elite production, but that would warrant a Defensive Player of the Year award. Caleb Williams can do no wrong, right? He can miss half the season. If they have an excuse to give it to him, he's going to run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Laiatu Latu, of course, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Comeback players, Aaron Rodgers. Coach of the Year, Dan Campbell. Shorter show today, but again, that's the point. I want to get in and out as efficiently as possible. Get your guys' takes in the comments, so let me know what you think. But those are my 2024-2025 NFL award predictions as of August 20th, a couple weeks before the season. But episode 202, next week, a lot of exciting things here on the channel. We have the top 50 NFL players. I have my official fantasy football, my guys, and of course I have my official fantasy football rankings. So for fantasy fans, we got you. For NBA fans, we got you covered. And next Thursday, we have our record predictions and Super Bowl predictions in the NFL next week. So a lot is coming up on the channel. Support us down below if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend.